Chief Secretary. Allow me to acknowledge the ministers that are with us today. We have Honorable Minister Shaba, the Minister of Higher Education. We also have Honorable Minister Mangaliso Ndlovu, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Minister Matuke, Minister of State for National Security. We also have Honorable Minister Dr. Masuka, the Minister of Agriculture. We also have the Honorable Deputy Minister for Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Honorable Marupi, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, other senior government officials here present, and the members from the 40 states. Today, the 10th of March 2026, His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, chaired the 5th Cabinet meeting, and the following issues, among others, were considered and approved. Cabinet considered and approved the 2026 Winter Production Plan, which was presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. Encias Masuka. The 2026 Winter Production Plan is a key part of the agriculture, food systems and the rural transformation strategy, and serves as the sectoral implementation framework within the broader context of the National Development Strategy 2. The plan aims to support national development by focusing on wheat, Irish potatoes, and barley production. Building on the successes of the 2 previous seasons and a record wheat production in 2025, the plan promotes rural industrialization through value addition across the entire agricultural value chain. The plan aligns with Agriculture, Food Systems and Rural Transformation Strategy 2 pillars that include sustainable production, climate resilience, rural industrialization, market development, and infrastructure enhancement. Accordingly, the available area for winter irrigation is estimated at 256,958 hectares, with 140,500 hectares designated for the production of wheat, Irish potatoes, and barley. Specifically, wheat will be cultivated on 125,000 hectares, barley on 6,500 hectares, and Irish potatoes on 9,000 hectares. The wheat plan aims to produce 662,500 metric tons, surpassing the national annual requirement of 615,000 metric tons. Furthermore, barley production is projected to rise to 45,500 metric tons, while Irish potatoes production is projected to reach 243,850 metric tons. To ensure the successful implementation of the plan, government will closely monitor 21 critical enablers, including essential resources such as power, water, seed, fertilizers, and fuel. Financial support mechanisms encompassing farmer payments, financing and insurance, operational efficiency factors like mechanization, coordination, and contract farming, risk management strategies, addressing mitigatory pests, land issues, security and wildfire management, capacity building, policy and regulatory frameworks, soil management, marketing and monitoring, and evaluation will be tracked. A comprehensive whole of government and sector approach will be employed to achieve the set targets. Cabinet considered and approved the compendium for the 100-day cycle projects for 2026, which was presented by the Minister of State for National Security, Honorable Lovemore Matuke. The 100-day cycles are scheduled to run from the 9th of February to 15th of December 2026 and encompass a total of 603 projects across all ministries, departments, and agencies of government. In identifying projects, MDAs considered underserved communities, including Binga, Kanyemba, Chikombedzi, Cholocho, among others, for the implementation of priority projects. The proposed priority projects are aligned with the guiding principles of being citizen-centric, rapidly implementable, high impact, and low risk. The projects are also strategically aligned with the objectives outlined in the National Development Strategy 2. Furthermore, projects under the Mutapa Investment Fund have been incorporated under the priority projects within the 100-day cycles. Out of the total of 603 projects, 206 are scheduled for implementation during the first 100-day cycle, followed by 203 projects in the second cycle and 174 projects in the third cycle of 2026. Of the first 100-day cycle of 2026, 152 projects are ongoing, with an additional 74 being initiated as new. In the second cycle, 134 projects are envisaged to be ongoing, while 69 will be launched as new. Similarly, in the third cycle, 116 projects will be ongoing and 58 will be taken on board as new projects. The nation is informed that the projects were selected based on their potential to contribute significantly to the aspirations of Vision 2030, with a primary focus of improving the livelihoods of the citizens across all communities. The projects are categorized according to the 10 thematic areas outlined in the National Development Strategy 2. In alignment with the government's commitment to deliver projects that focus on growing investments in various infrastructure sectors such as transportation, water, and sanitation, the infrastructure and housing development pillar of the National Development Strategy 2 has the highest number of initiatives, totaling 159 projects. 72 projects are included under the Science, Technology, Innovation, and Human Capital Development thematic area, as they are essential drivers of economic growth, productivity, and competitiveness. Furthermore, 71 projects are being implemented under the Inclusive Economic Growth and Structural Transformation thematic area. The geographical spread of the projects are as follows. We have Bulawayo with 40 projects, Harare, 97 projects, Mashonaland Central Province, 38 projects, Mashonaland East, 35, Mashonaland West, 52, Masvingo, 50, Midlands, 45, Manicaland, 40, Matabeleland North, 51, Matabeleland South, 60. Then cross-cutting projects, we have 80. Then foreign missions, 15 projects, giving us a total of 603 projects. Cabinet received and approved the Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy number 2, running from 2026 to 2030 as presented by the Minister of Industry and Commerce. Government has developed the Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy number 2, 2026 to 2030, which will guide Zimbabwe's industrialization agenda for the next 5 years in tandem with the National Development Strategy 2, also running from 2026 to 2030. The policy builds upon the foundations and progress achieved under the Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy number 1, which ran from 2019 to 2023, and the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan from 2024 to 2025. The policy aims to promote sustainable and diversified industrial growth, enhance productivity, and drive structural transformation and competitiveness by accelerating investments in Zimbabwe's industrial sector, consistent with the positive economic trajectory. The ZNIDP number 2 seeks to achieve the following specific objectives: to achieve the manufacturing sector's growth rate from an average of 2.2% to over 5% annually until we get to 2030. To raise the sector's contribution to gross domestic product from United States dollars 7 billion to 12 billion by 2030. To increase manufacturing exports from an average of United States dollars 470 million to United States dollars 1 billion by 2030. To improve capacity utilization from an average of 51% to 60% by 2030. And to increase the volume of manufacturing index from 149.4 to an average of 180 by 2030. The ZNIDP, which is the policy number 2, is anchored on 6 strategic pillars, namely deepening industrialization and value chain optimization, leveraging competitive advantages in mining and agriculture, spatial development initiative nodes, and rural industrialization, enhancing industrial competitiveness and productivity through digital transformation and artificial intelligence integration, inclusive industrialization and micro, small, and medium enterprises linkages, and lastly, strengthening local content development. The pillars entail, among others, prioritizing immediate goods production under the manufacturing for manufacturing concept, leveraging the country's natural endowments to promote beneficiation and driving industrial modernization through retooling, automation, concessional financing, and duty-free capital equipment imports. The policy will embed artificial intelligence in manufacturing and value chains, strengthen innovation ecosystems, link industry and academia, promote investment in STEM, and develop digital skills. The pillars also entail prioritizing the expansion of special economic zones alongside macroeconomic coordination, the promotion of micro, small, and medium enterprises integration with larger firms, and facilitating the graduation of small enterprises into larger entities. Cabinet considered and approved the Consumer Protection Policy as presented again by the Minister of Industry and Commerce. Government has developed the Consumer Protection Policy running from 2026 to 2030, aimed at safeguarding consumer rights in an increasingly complex and dynamic marketplace. The policy serves to regulate the supply of goods and services, safeguard the rights of consumers, and promote fair trading practices in the marketplace. The framework also promotes the production of quality goods and services in order to meet the needs of an empowered consumer, ultimately improving the country's domestic and international competitiveness. The consumer protection policy closes the existing legislative and institutional gaps, strengthens coordination among agencies, and promotes fair, transparent, and accountable practices across all sectors of the economy. The consumer protection policy is anchored on strategic pillars, namely institutional architecture for consumer protection, dispute resolution and redress mechanisms, legal and regulatory framework, product safety and quality of goods and services, counterfeit and illicit trade, consumer education and awareness, regional integration and international cooperation, and e-commerce and digital transactions. The pillars entail, among other objectives, strengthening of consumer protection institutions, intensification of the ongoing market compliance checks, enforcement of consumer rights and welfare through clear dispute resolution guidelines, the establishment of a dedicated anti-counterfeiting framework, and the rollout of comprehensive consumer education programs. Other policy actions include the review of legal instruments governing digital transactions and the strengthening of the consignment-based conformity assessment system in the country. The policy has a robust monitoring and evaluation framework for effective consumer participation and improved compliance on the part of businesses. Cabinet also considered and approved the Memorandum of Understanding between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Equatorial Guinea concerning cooperation in higher and tertiary education and training. The Memorandum of Understanding seeks to establish a comprehensive legal framework to facilitate the continued collaboration between the two countries in the field of higher and tertiary education and training. The MOU also aims to promote educational exchange among institutions of higher learning. The scope of cooperation includes the exchange of ideas related to curriculum development, organization of study tours to enhance understanding of each other's educational systems, and the facilitation of student enrollment from the Republic of Equatorial Guinea in accredited universities and colleges within the Republic of Zimbabwe. Furthermore, the MOU endeavors to promote mutual recognition of educational qualifications between the parties, thereby strengthening the academic and professional ties. Cabinet received and approved another Memorandum of Understanding between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Tajikistan on cooperation in the fields of technology transfer and construction. The MOU will promote and strengthen cooperation in the areas of technology transfer and construction, particularly the fields of water and sanitation. The parties will cooperate through an exchange of experiences, knowledge, and information in the following areas: water supply and sewerage infrastructure, historical and urban renewal building construction, artificial intelligence systems, and advanced disaster and risk management systems. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's government highlights. We now move to the first round of 3 questions. With answers from the Honorable Minister here present. Over to you, colleagues. Yes.
Are you satisfied with the levels of the dams in preparation for the irrigation of the youth? And also in terms of interrupted power supply, what measures have you put And then for the Minister of Industry, my question is, how will this policy deal with counterfeit substandard imports? And how will cross-border transactions be regulated? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
My name is Abigail Tembo from ZTC News. Mine is directed to the Minister of Agriculture. The winter plan emphasizes rural industrialization and value addition. How will ordinary farmers and rural communities directly benefit from this strategy?
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. The first question is directed to Honorable Masuka from, is it Deborah Mashaba? Matabu. Okay. Yes, Honorable Minister Masuka. Then you also attend to a question by Abigail Tembo on how the ordinary farmers will benefit from the endeavors that you are making in the ministry.
Thank you, Chair, and I think the two questioners. The first relates to whether I'm satisfied with water availability, and the simple answer is yes. That is why we presented the plan. But perhaps to be able to disaggregate the availability, the major dams containing, they are 91% full, and we are very satisfied with those levels, except that the province of National and Central, especially the Mazoe catchment, is about 62% full in terms of the dams, brought down by Mazoe at about 12%, Jumbo Dam and Muriel. So there will be consequently a reduction in the area under the winter crops, principally wheat in those areas. You will recall that last year Mazoe was perhaps the biggest growing district for wheat, followed by Rimba. But we have compensated for that. We also see a slight reduction in the area allocated to winter production in Mashonaland West to just around 35,000, marginally down from about the 35,500 that they had last year. But we see Mashonaland East picking up in the rest of the provinces on account of those provinces having received higher and normal rainfall at this time of the season. The ongoing wet spell between now and the 14th of March, we expect between 50 and 100 millimeters to be received throughout the country, with some concentration in the northern areas. We therefore expect that Mashonaland West and Mashonaland Central dams will also receive substantial inflows, and that there will also be significant underground recharge to enable meaningful expansion. So indeed, that is the source of the satisfaction. Then the other one relates to power. Ordinarily, we are ahead of the presentation of this winter plan. We have a discussion with the Minister of Energy and Power Development, to which we clearly discuss availability of power. We heard from the Minister responsible that I think we went for the longest stretch without power cuts post Christmas. And we heard today that there is no load shedding because there is adequate power being generated, and that Hwange 7 and 8 are very stable. We require 150 megawatts of power to be ring-fenced for winter production. And this ring-fencing has happened over the past few years from 2023 when we attained with national self-sufficiency. We also note that we now are planning for a higher self-sufficiency. We plan to produce 662,000 metric tons of wheat, and we estimate that our national consumption this year will be 615,000 metric tons, inclusive of some imports. As we make wheat more available, wheat is now another choice source of starch for many Zimbabweans, and they are actually seeing increasing consumption, and I hope the power sector will continue to prioritize us for power availability. Then the other question relates to the ordinary farmer, the wheat farmer, I assume, and the benefits from the proposed rural industrialization and rural development. Indeed, Cabinet in its wisdom has formed a Cabinet Committee on Rural Development and Industrialization to catalyze the attainment of Vision 2030, because the philosophy and ethos is agricultural development will lead to rural development, which will lead to rural industrialization to catalyze the attainment of Vision 2030. So it is in that context and in the spirit of leaving no one and no place behind that we would like to see industries, value addition, beneficiation, aggregation taking place in the areas of production. So we have adopted a value chain approach to agriculture, and the Minister of Industry and Commerce and I have formed a committee of our deputy ministers that is looking at 14 agricultural value chains, so that we just don't look at production. We say, so what do we require as a nation for our consumption patterns, and where do we industrialize, not just establishing urban centers, but ensuring that where the production is taking place, we establish these agro hubs. Remember, what we would like to do as a country is not go back to the Zimbabwe becoming a bread basket of the Southern Africa region. No. We want Zimbabwe to become an agro-industrial hub of the region, leaving no one and no place behind. And in the irrigation scheme business units that are going to be involved in wheat production, we've also said with the Agricultural and Rural Development Authority, we want to see 3 channels of rural industrialization emerge. First is the maize to mealie meal channel. Second is the wheat to bread channel. And third is the soybean and sunflower to oils channel. So you'll be seeing more of rural development and rural industrialization affecting the ordinary farmer and leaving no one and no place behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The third question is directed to the Minister of Industry from Deborah.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and also Deborah, for your question. I think it's pretty much in 2 parts. The first part is about counterfeit products and how we are dealing with that. It's a very important question, especially as it affects the consumer, the majority of whom generally voiceless people whom we need to protect as government. You will recall that we brought really the issues of counterfeit products and smuggling and other business malpractices in 2024 when we launched the Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan, following which we set up anti-smuggling teams, following which we also sent teams through our trade measures and Consumer Protection Commission teams to go around the country inspecting our products, working closely with the manufacturers, of course. I must highlight that we are seeing an increasing threat of counterfeit products, and most of them are becoming more and more sophisticated. Some are even looking better than the original products. And we are working quite closely in this regard with the manufacturers, but also we will be intensifying consumer awareness so that consumers are aware of the level of counterfeiting that is taking place. Now, we believe that this will take a whole of government, whole of society approach, and there are 3 main approaches that will be very critical around this. The first one will be strengthening our enforcement. We have enforcement agencies that include your trade measures, who do a lot of work behind the scenes. They make sure that even at a fuel station, they go and check if the pump is measured correctly. When you go, you just see it's 10 liters that you have poured in. That could be a faulty machine. So there are government institutions that make sure that consumers are protected in that regard. So enforcement agencies are cross-cutting. We work with the police, with the local authorities. We also work with the business member organizations so that business is adequately represented. Also important will be the aspect of awareness creation and education. This is very important to make sure that the consumer is empowered with information. To see some of the examples of counterfeit products. Those who follow the news, I think last year around October, November, we did a blitz where we were showcasing counterfeit Palenta Millimel. The packaging was actually more beautiful. National Foods were acknowledging that the counterfeit product packaging was more beautiful than theirs, but the product could not meet the specifications or the quality of the original product. And it was from that consumers started complaining, and we did our blitz. Thirdly, we will be strengthening advocacy, and advocacy includes the fourth estate, just to make sure that we increase the voices of the consumers out there through advocacy organizations like your Consumer Council of Zimbabwe, among others. On dealing with the cross-border trade, again, under a whole-of-government approach, we are working very closely with the security cluster, just to make sure that the goods that come into our country go through our established ports, they are inspected, and they are also complying with all the country's rules and regulations. We set up, following the launch of the Reconstruction and Growth Plan, mobile teams that are mostly under the security cluster that are making sure that they do random checks to see if the goods that are coming into the country are compliant with the laws. And this will continue. We continue to assess the weaknesses in the existing system, and the improvements are being made. I think I will best end here so that I don't end up telling you what improvements we are working on these teams. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ministers, for responding to those questions. Let's move to the last round. Again, yes.
Thank you very much. I'm Eben Nabunda from ZTN Prime. I've got two questions that are directed to the Minister of Industry and Commerce with regards to the new industrial policy. First one has to speak to the aspect that some high targets have been set in terms of increasing, for example, the manufacturing sector capacity to over 60%. Question then would linger around whether there is complementarity from a power perspective to support the purported industrial growth at that. Then the second question speaks to the aspect of capacitating the domestic industry from a financing or a funding perspective. This would be the first year of this very policy going up to 2030. But already, from a monetary perspective, you've got interest rates which industry has been saying they're quite punitive at 35%, one of the highest on the continent of Africa. So from a financing perspective, given these targets, what's being done? I know that there's the TFF, the Targeted Finance Facility, has been put in place, but beyond that, what else does the policy bring into perspective to capacitate domestic industry against these set targets? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Chief. Mine is directed to, maybe it's supplementary to Deborah's question, Honorable Mangaliso.
Name?
My name is Richmond Siaborima, Radio Zimbabwe. I'm supplementing Deborah's question on consumers, where consumers have been victims of counterfeit traders for a long time now, and most of them have become victims of disclaimers stuck on notorious traders' supermarkets or shops that no returns, no exchange, no refunds. I don't know what the enforcement program is doing to ensure that the consumers are aware of the illegality of that kind of disclaimer?
Thank you very much. Yes, yeah, two at the back.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. My name is Rato Young from the chair. My question is on stakeholder involvement, the Minister of Industry. How are you going to engage stakeholders, including the private sector?
Abigail.
Okay. Mine is directed to Minister Matuke. With over 600 projects approved under NDS 2, how will government ensure timely implementation and effective delivery, particularly in provinces outside Harare and Bulawayo? And then to the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, how will the collaboration between Zim and Equatorial Guinea strengthen research as well as skills training for both countries?
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. Three questions directed to the Minister of Industry and Commerce. First one from Ima Magunda. Then from Richmond Siakurima. And also from El Nyangu. There's a question again to the Minister of Industry and Commerce, if you could tackle those questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to thank all the media colleagues who have asked these very pertinent questions. Magunda, the first one is on linking targets with the key enablers. So capacity utilization of 60%, we believe it's fair, but again, it's possible to far exceed that, especially looking at the fact that in 2025, capacity utilization is sitting at 57.3%. So this was just to average, looking at the fluctuating nature of capacity utilization. But that said, you are correct in that our targets are showing ambition. We are targeting to grow the value of the manufacturing sector from 7 billion to 12 billion by 2030. And such kind of growth needs to be complemented by adequate power, among other enablers that we have identified. And we have worked very closely with the Ministry of Energy in this regard. And we believe that before 2030, we will have far exceeded 4,000 megawatts, which will be more than adequate, at least for the set targets. But we believe that there will be scope to do more. There are a lot of projects already underway that are highlighting generation increase in the next year or two. On the issue of financing domestic industry, I'm happy that you did highlight the TFF. My genuine projection is that the interest rates will come down on the back of the macroeconomic stability that is there, on the back of the inflation rate that has come down quite substantially. And I do appreciate that the central bank had to approach this with caution so that the stability is sustained over a certain period. So interest rates will start coming down. But that said, they also have the TFF, which has been put in place to support the industry in accessing capital. I'm sure you also know that we launched last year the Industrial Development Fund, which we have assigned the Venture Capital Fund to manage on our behalf. And if I'm not mistaken, the first batch of recipients are ready. They are likely to be notified this week that they are ready. It will not always be adequate, but there are practical steps that we are taking. We hope also to crowd in the financial sector as we go, because this is where ordinarily industry has to be financed. Richmond, disclaimers. I mentioned in my previous response that the duty really of conscientizing our consumers doesn't lie with government alone. When I heard you speak, I said there is somebody that we can use because he knows that it's illegal to put these disclaimers. And what is very important is to conscientize our people. But beyond that, we are prosecuting people who are delinquent, who are doing this to consumers. I did highlight in cabinet that some people don't know that it's illegal to put a disclaimer that there is no refund. It's only in the health sector that it is acceptable because you can't take a drug and then you want to return it. It cannot be consumed by other people. But overall and ordinarily, it is illegal. And if there are people who are doing that, an informed consumer is advised to notify the authorities. It could be police, it could be ourselves as the ministry, so that we can prosecute such businesses. Then your question is very broad. I'm not too sure if I understood you correctly, because it says, how are you going to engage stakeholders, including the private sector? I'm not too sure in what regard. What I might say, though, is that as we launch this industrial development policy, largely it is a private sector driven policy. All the subcommittees that came up with this document were headed by members from our business member organizations, all of whom we have signed MOUs with. So from that onset, it is their document, it is not a government document. And we have set our own engagement mechanisms during the implementation life of the policy. I'm saying it's broad because I'm not too sure whether it's about this policy or the consumer protection policy, which again entails strong engagement of both consumers and business, so that also business is fully aware of their responsibilities and consumers are aware of their rights and responsibilities. And this will be an ongoing process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. This question is directed to the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education with regards to the MOU that you intend to sign.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for your question.
Your mic is not on.
Oh, my mic. Okay. Once again, thank you for your question. The MOU that we intend to sign will usher us into an area of specific areas of possible cooperation. And at the moment, we have very limited areas of cooperation. We have some Equatorial Guinea students in Zimbabwe. There are not many of them, but they are scattered in about 9 institutions in this country. And we are thinking that we can explore better exchanges of students, and that those numbers will influence the areas of possible cooperation. We are also aware that Equatorial Guinea is it is oil. It's been developing oil for some time, and in this country we are also trying to develop oil, and we may learn from them how they've been doing it. I know for a fact that there are very few expatriates in their program of oil extraction and refining. Maybe as we develop our own sector of oil and gas in Zimbabwe, we might learn something from them. But our main thrust is really to try and find out what the institutions can offer to us, and also prepare ourselves to offer areas of study in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last question is directed to Honorable Matuke on the implementation of the 100-day cycle projects as asked by Abigail Tembo.
Thank you very much for a good question. The 603 projects are distributed into the 26 ministries. And in every ministry, there is a monitoring and evaluation team. And it's easier because these projects were broken down into phases, where we have 206 projects in the first 100-day cycle, and the 203 in the second cycle, and 174. And all these projects were provided for in the budget, and it's going to be easier because there is already a provision to look after these projects.
Thank you very much, colleagues from the media, for the questions, and I also want to thank the honorable ministers for responding to these questions. We'll come to the end of today's post-cabinet press briefing. We'll meet next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.